Hey, I'm Lex.
And I'm Gibby. Welcome to another episode of Porch Swing People.
Each week we have a guest join us on the virtual Porch Swing to tell us about their life. We ask them questions about the past, present, or future, and we just have a casual chat. How did I meet this next guest? Because I don't know this person, and neither does Gibby. I met this guy at the dog park. We were the only ones there because we were the only ones who were brave enough to come out in this uncharacteristically cold day in the spring. And we just got to talking about our lives. I really don't know how things came up, but I asked a question and then we just went from there. And then I said, stop. I need you to stop telling me stories because you need to be on our podcast. And he agreed. So we have Ben. He is going to tell us some stories from his past, particularly his hitchhiking stories, but maybe a few other thrill stories too, because as he says, there have been many times when he could have died, but did not.
Did not.
He's here to tell the tales.
So let's bring Ben on.
Let's do it.
Greetings, Ben.
How's it going?
Greetings. It's going really well. I want to thank you, too, for the opportunity for this interview. My name is Benjamin Cockman. I'm about a few weeks shy of my 70th birthday.
Right on. Congratulations.
I know. And when you hear some of the exploits I've done, you'll understand why my children have said, Dad, it's amazing you're alive.
Oh, I'm excited.
Freight trains and the hitchhiking and the serious whitewater experiences I had, it is amazing I'm here. I grew up in North Carolina, and I graduated from Appalachian State University in 1978, give you an idea how old I am.
Uh-huh.
And I was a business major. I lived in the Asheville, North Carolina area for about 5 years after college, and then the call of the wild came through, and I moved to Alaska.
Both locations are beautiful.
Yes. Alaska's
And
off the
so
scale.
different.
It really blew my mind, and I spent 13 years there. I was fortunate to have my good friends Mark and Cindy from North Carolina moved up. Mark worked for Arco, and they were my connection to Alaska and getting up there, and I actually lived with them for a while.
Right on.
But then I lived for 13 years in Alaska. I worked for a big company called Altria Group, and I was in sales, and I had the good fortune to be able to travel all around the state of Alaska, on somebody else's dime.
Traveling around Alaska, from what I understand, that's not a simple task.
No.
Was it mostly airports? Was it pontoon boats or pontoon planes? How was most of that travel?
All of the above. With my business travel, it was Alaska Airlines flying between all the, Juneau, Sitka, Ketchikan, Anchorage, which, all of those Southeast Alaska places are landlocked. You have to have a plane or a boat to get to the next island.
Right.
But spectacularly beautiful. And again, I had the good fortune to be able to go and visit these places many, many times. And I would encourage anyone to check out Alaska. But ultimately, I moved to the Seattle area. I worked for a big company, and I got a promotion and was transferred down. But then in 2003, I left Altria Group, and I started my own business. I started Mount Si Sports and Fitness in North Bend, Washington. Continue to run it to this day. I'm fortunate even more so that my daughter, Haley, is essentially running the business now and taking over. And, my job is really just to come in late and leave early and, shoot the breeze with all my fine members that come in there.
Shout out to Haley.
Yeah. And your business. And your customers.
In the last number of years, I've had the good fortune to meet a couple of different people. One is Taylor Gooderson. Taylor is a commercial filmmaker by trade, but he's also done some low-budget indie movies. And I had the good fortune to be a part of one of them called Hunting Bigfoot. It might still be on Netflix, but I'm going to have a co-star role in that. It's a fascinating look at the whole Bigfoot phenomenon, and I would encourage anyone to check it out. You might get some laughs out of it. We're actually working on another movie now the last couple of years called Seeing Ghosts. And this is going to be nothing to do with Sasquatch, thank goodness. But it has to do with a lot of unexplained phenomenon and kind of a thriller type movies. That'll be out probably this fall, so I have that to look forward to.
Yeah,
All right.
very
I
cool.
also had the good pleasure with my freight train jumping back in the day. I decided it would really round out my hobo image to play harmonica. Something about the harmonica out there and, on the freight train. And Of
Smart.
course, what I later found out was a freight train is so noisy and loud that if you're on a train and you blow on a harmonica, you can't hear a thing. So it's much for that, that romantic part of the whole
Yeah.
thing. But I still play harmonica a lot. I play in several bands, True North, East Side Jam, just a great hobby. Now I live in Black Diamond, Washington. I've got a girlfriend, Tracy, and 3 dogs, and they pretty much dominate my life. But I wouldn't have it any other way. And so that brings us here today to talk about my past, my traveling.
And we want to hear what sparked your interest in traveling in general, but also specifically in hitchhiking and, as you said, jumping freight trains.
Yes. Well, what sparked my interest was just simply a desire for adventure. When I was a young man, I wanted adventure more than anything in this world, and I was willing to take chances. The whole hitchhiking thing started off with my friend Matt, who was my roommate through college, and I hitchhiked alone a lot, but also with the two of us together. It's safer when there's two of you. You don't get as many rides. We've had situations where we've had to have one of us kind of hide in the bushes. And this one boy said, there's actually two of us. Is that okay? And yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way.
But it was just simply a desire for adventure is what led me to it. And then, the hitchhiking thing is, even though it's dangerous, we had so many people pick us up that were really good people. And I don't want to cut ahead to the end of my ultimate takeaway from this thing, but it's amazing how many really good people picked us up. I mean, almost everybody we encountered were good people. I spent the night in people's houses. I had people buy me meals. I've had people take me way out of their way just to accommodate where I was going. And it was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So you started this after you graduated college?
No, I started it while I was in college. By the time I graduated from college, all my hitchhiking and freight train jumping was done.
What did mom and pop think about that?
So my mom and dad, that's a good question, because now if my kids were like, where I'm going to go hitchhike, so, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
And, that question could have been posed to me. It was a different era back then in the 70s.
Yeah.
You saw hitchhikers around. You saw people doing that. I don't anymore. In fact, I don't know anybody that I've met in my life that has done the extent of hitchhiking and freight train jumping that we did.
Yeah, it's rare
And it's
these
just
days
a
for sure.
great way to get around. Just met a lot of incredible people. Yeah.
So the parents were okay with it, you're saying?
They were okay with it, to a point, but they were okay with it to the point my mom even dropped us off out of Interstate 85 to start off our giant trip. My mom dropped us off.
With the cell phones and everything, the only thing we've asked is, hey, could you just give us a call,
Yes.
and let us know where you're at? And of course, now with, the phones and having locations and everything else, that's huge. But
yeah, she just dropped you off, and that was it.
Yep, dropped us off, and then and of course would do my best to look like a college kid, have a sign where I was going, have my backpack, and I learned to smile. I mean, I had people pick me up, and I'd just say, out of curiosity, how come you picked me up? They said, well, you smiled.
nice.
It's funny, but with a career in sales, I will use that analogy on my young salespeople, saying, you know what? Use the most effective tool you have to communicate, and that is a smile.
There you go.
Wow, yeah.
Recount the hitchhiking days. So that's one of the things I picked up along the way.
Did you have like an itinerary, like, hey, okay, first thing I'm going to do is go here, and then I'm going to make a decision where next where, or did you have
No, it
this
was
planned
completely
out?
wide open. Mainly
Really?
we're out there just to travel. And,
Wow.
depending on where the ride was going to go that we had, but we may change our plan to be able to go that direction and get there. So it's completely wide open. But the way I would communicate with my folks would be, back then, you didn't have a credit card for your phone. You
Nope.
had pay phones, and they required coins. And apparently long distance was very expensive, relatively considering.
Yeah.
And so I would be out there, and I would call back to my parents, collect and person to person. So I would call for my long dead uncle, Henry Cockman. And they said, well, he's not here. I said, can we take a message? I said, well, tell him that Ben is in Amarillo, and we'll call later. Or wherever. So that way they knew where I was. They knew I was alive. At least generally what city I was.
Yeah. Cheating the system. I like it.
So that's how we did it. We was called, person to person for Henry, and yeah.
That's so smart. Okay, so I feel like we could go either way. We could talk about your positive experiences or your more scary experiences. Let's start with the scary stuff. So, can you tell us about a scary experience that you encountered while hitchhiking?
That's situations where someone would pick you up, and you could tell right away. I had a situation where these people were drunk,
Mm.
and you get in the car, and you don't want to say, I think I need to get out here right now, because you don't want to piss them off. So it was kind of a delicate situation, but I had one where the guy was driving erratically. I think we crashed once. you know,
You
Get back out
crashed.
on the road, and those kind of things were pretty scary. Getting let off at night in places like Nashville, Tennessee, or right outside of New York City, and you don't know where you're going. But basically, we were like the forerunners of homeless people today, where these people, they find a way. There's a dumpster down on the corner, you can get under that or whatever. We did that kind of thing, where we would sleep under bridges, particularly on interstates. If you go under a bridge on an interstate, there's a flat area up on the top. Check one out when you're
Yep.
driving along, right under the
Right.
bridge. We would go crawl up in there and be out of the rain or whatever. It's a concrete floor,
Yeah.
but we'd have our sleeping bags, a little pad, and I must say I got many a really good night's sleep under a bridge.
Listening to cars.
Um, so it's possible.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about the time that you like they actually crashed. Like that must have been pretty scary.
Yeah, and well, the scary part was trying to explain why I needed to get out without pissing off this person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was there were two of them, big guys, and for all I know, they were armed. And so there was a delicate situation, and I would have to be careful about that. And um, I think I got out of this ride by basically lying and saying, I think I've changed my mind, and I'm going to go see my uncle down south of so and so. So I'm going to, instead of getting off up here, I'm going to get off up at this next point. And they let me out, and I was able to go on my way. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
Smart
that's
thinking.
really smart.
oh, that and just being at night, and you're walking along, with your backpack on at night, and hitchhiking and all that. It's a daytime experience. At night, you don't get rides at night, and you're just
Yeah.
kind of fending for yourself.
So when you were out in the middle of nowhere doing you just walk off the side and find you a nice little comfort spot, fall asleep for a few hours?
Pretty much the bridge thing is where we go, because anyway,
Hmm.
you're out of the weather and everything. We didn't have a tent, we just had sleeping bags. So get under a bridge. There's times where, like in Montana, where it's just beautiful and it's not going to rain. Just slept out in the edge of a meadow. And
Wow, that's
and I,
amazing.
amazingly enough, I have to say that I had some of the best night's sleep I've ever had in those situations.
What about the jumping trains? Was that not scary?
That was scary, and that started off in Del Rio, Texas, right on the Mexican border. And
Huh.
it's funny because we got let out hitchhiking the night before, and we're right by the railroad yard. And a couple of years after, there were situations where we were having problems getting a ride, and being the railroad yard coming, the night coming on, we'd go to the rail yard and jump a freight train. And people that work the railroads were usually very friendly and helpful. And they tell you, well, you want to get this train over here, fourth track over. That's the one you want to get. In fact, we even spent, I think it was New Year's Day in Houston, Texas, in the giant railroad yard there, where we befriended a guy or two. Next thing you know, we spent the afternoon up in the control tower of the railroad yard.
Yeah.
And ultimately,
Wow.
he's like, okay, you want the train to New Orleans? That's the 11th track over, coming through right now. Go down and jump on that. And we did, and that's how we got out of there.
I find that interesting because the movies always depicts that they have a thug that makes sure that people don't get on the trains. So you got a lot of help with that.
Oh, we got help, surprisingly enough. Yeah, yeah.
Were there any times when you were hitchhiking or you were on a train and you ended up like not even close to where you were aiming to be?
It happened, but you just got to get up and go the next day.
Uh-huh.
I think it's amazing that the success that I had hitchhiking, and
Yeah,
the really
sounds
nice
like it.
people that picked me up, and again went out of their way to take care of me and buy me meals. I've spent the night in people's homes. Um, I remember one time this guy brought Matt and I were hitching together and in Oklahoma somewhere, and it was a night, and he's like, "Well, you guys, you can come on, you can crash at my place." And so we go there and we get in, and he walks in, and of course he goes. Well, I could hear his wife in the other room, like, "What the heck are you? You brought home
Yeah.
hookers, and they're going to stay here? Are you out of your mind?" And but he let us, and she let us, and we got it done.
In the train cars, did you ever encounter a car where you were sharing it with people that you didn't know?
Oh, that's a good question.
Um, I encountered other people, but usually it would just be the us two. But there was never where we had to like ride with a group or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But I was on trains where I got off and later found out there were other people on following boxcars.
Yeah.
And I think we had one where we counted 15 people were on that train.
Wow, that's so interesting.
One was from Greensboro, North Carolina, the same place I'm from, and this was out in Idaho or somewhere. And
Wow,
so yeah.
You,
small world.
we had a brief conversation before, and I think you recall, if I recall, you said the trains were a little bit. It's obviously noisier and dirtier and dustier. So was trains were your last resort, or hey, that was just part of the deal, and you preferred hitchhiking with, on the highways? Which one?
Well, ultimately, hitchhiking on highways was a cleaner, better way to go, more comfortable.
Hmm.
But again, if you get around a night rolling around and you're there and you can't get a ride and there is a railroad yard, you can jump trains at night and hitchhike by day. And I believe I could probably cross the United States as fast as you could cross it just in your car. So like, let's start in California, I'll race you to New York. And I think I could probably do just as good.
You know what? That'd be a
Amazing.
great reality show or a challenge. You know
That
what
would
I'm
be.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah, you can get there by hook or by crook, however you want to do it.
Yeah. Obviously, young, didn't have your pockets full of cash. How did you get funds, money to eat? And I know that you mentioned several folks that fed you and helped you out in that fashion, but it wasn't
Yeah,
every
were you
day.
ever like worried about money?
Well, we had to have coins, cash. There was no credit card back then, not one that I had, and
Hmm.
so you had to basically bring coin. It was a classic of putting your money in your shoe, if you can believe that.
No, I can
Hmm.
believe
Or
that.
that's the first place a robber would look, be your shoes. But that's what we did, and $1 you could get peanut butter and bread, and it would keep you alive, and that's what we would do.
So you told us about some of the scarier portions of your
Yeah.
adventures. Tell us a couple of the hilarious ones. Everybody likes that laugh.
Well, I think one of the most hilarious is I was with Matt and we were riding with this guy, and he made a comment a couple of times about how my buddy looked just like his best friend, and
Uh,
then ultimately he broke down and says, "You know what? The reason I kept pounding that out is because my best friend and his wife, they've been trying to conceive a baby and they can't."
I'm
And they,
afraid to know where this
and
is
he
going.
was like, would you be interested? Of course, to an 18-year-old male, like, well, sure, let's don't think anything beyond the immediate.
yeah,
And
definitely.
they actually made a few phone calls that never came to pass, but I thought that was pretty hysterical.
Yeah,
To have,
That's weird, is what that is.
I
Yeah,
don't think it's weird. I think it's very,
oh, I'm going
it's
to
very
father a
bold.
child with somebody, and it's like, and you're a hitchhiker.
I
yeah,
hope that they were able to have the kids that they wanted to have.
yeah.
Another fun thing was light poles that you have at like a lot of these exits and all that.
Hmm.
I've been wanting to go back and check some of these poles, but back then hitchhikers and people would autograph them and
Never would
write
have thought
different
about
things.
that.
One was, which I thought was a really cute little poem, was "Here I stand at 9 a.m. I'm still here at 10:30. You might not think that's long at all, but it's PM now. God dang it all."
That's so good.
Yeah.
I I love that you recorded that.
Now we had unusual situations too. Like we had once where the same guy picked us up on consecutive rides. Now, if you're a
No
hitchhiker,
way.
What?
that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so what it turned out, we rode with this fellow, really nice guy. He took us to a truck stop, and this was in Southern Oregon, Northern California. And I remember I got chicken fried steak, and it's the first time I ever had chicken fried steak. And I'm to this day still remember it, how good it was. Of
Hmm.
course, if you're really, really hungry, anything, that old shoe would be.
Everything's good.
That's a
Yeah.
good point.
But he let us off. We slept under a bridge, went out the next day, started hitchhiking. Same guy comes driving along and picks us up and carried us for multiple hours again. So
Wow.
that doesn't happen very often to have the same person in consecutive rides. We had situations where, like, okay, well, this was in Oregon near the coast, near Astoria, and we got let out and we slept literally on the side of the road in the ditch. And so we're down there sleeping, and in the morning, a state patrolman pulls over somebody, literally right next to us. And so you're laying there in the bushes, I mean, like 10 feet away. And this cop comes around. It's like, oh my God, no telling what he would have done because we would have scared the shit out of him. Like, excuse me,
We're sleeping
And we
right
just
here.
laid there while he gives this person a ticket. And
I was
interesting.
going to ask, did you have any run-ins with the law?
Oh yeah, we had them all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Where
What?
we would pretty much get booted off the interstate because now your great chance of getting a ride is with the cars on interstate. You get out there, but most states, including Washington, it's illegal to be out past a certain sign.
Hmm.
Oregon's not like that. So our big thing is, we just got to get to Oregon because then you can hitchhike on the interstate.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we had cops come along and move us off the road. And
So let me ask then. So did they like, hey, get in the car, I'm taking you, or you needed to, what, I'm in the middle of nowhere, I'm on the interstate, where you want me to go?
they just usually have you walk away. But I did have them pick me up and drive me, to different places and be very helpful. And
So you kind of got a ride hitchhiking with the police officers.
So let me ask you this. You told us about, the traveling part, but the adventure also is wherever you went and visited. Did you like stay several days and like, hey, I'm going to explore this city and, hey, I want to go to the food pantry.
No, we did that with New York City, where got in town and then actually met somebody, got a place to stay, did New Year's Eve in Times Square,
Nice.
and actually met
Amazing.
the person we stayed at in the throng of people in Times Square.
Wow.
Met somebody that allowed us to go home with her. It was a woman, and sleep on her floor. And
Right on.
Amazing.
I don't know if that would happen this day.
Yeah, that's a rough
Probably
one.
not. Probably shouldn't.
But so you go to Times Square. What did you stash your? That's the other piece
Yes.
is you got your house on your
Your
back,
gear.
or
You got
yeah,
it. You go to Grand Central Station, and they had lockers, and you could
Yep.
put your backpack and all in a locker and walk away. Last time I was in New York at Grand Central, I noticed that you can't do that anymore because you stash a bomb in there for crying out loud.
Yeah.
yeah.
Who knows what you're
So
thinking.
that option would not be. So what did you do today? I do not know.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a very specific period of time where a lot of things you could do that you could not necessarily do now. And the landscape has changed so much from then.
It has, but back then this is talking 1973, 74, 76. It was kind of a holdover from the 60s where you had the peace, love generation, and hippies. And, if you're hitchhiking and you saw a Volkswagen van coming, you'd be like, get up, here, come on. You know, because they were the most likely to pull over and give you a ride.
Yeah.
Wow.
But there's times where I remember we were on the road somewhere and I was sick of being with Matt and he was sick of being with me. And we got into a big argument there. And literally somebody called the cops. And
Oh,
they came
a big argument.
and they just shooed us away. But, the fact that we would do that. And then we had situations like riding in the back of a pickup truck. where this one was in Idaho. We got picked up by these guys, and in the back was this guy's dog named Cisco. And we're riding along, and all of a sudden we encountered this giant hailstorm. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was like nothing I had seen. Hailstones like golf balls.
Wow.
And we were in the back of this truck riding with Cisco, the dog. And luckily, Cisco was there with us because the guys ultimately pulled over, and me and Matt jumped in the van, and old Cisco comes flying in. He kept between our legs. There was nothing going to keep him out of that truck.
Yeah.
And we sat there while the hail pelted down, but I'll never forget the dog Cisco. He was pretty
Oh,
special.
yeah. Wow.
Going back to the cities, what were your top favorite three cities?
New York,
Good question.
I would say San Francisco, and then probably Nashville, Tennessee.
Right on. And what was the allure of each one of them?
New York, just because it's New York. It's the big rotten apple.
You
And
like it?
yes,
Hey,
and
cool.
it's like I'm grew up in North Carolina in the mountains. I'm a mountain guy, but there is something just fascinating about New York City, and I would say the same about San Francisco, just on a smaller scale.
Uh huh.
But surprisingly, people would be friendly and open and helpful. Yeah, one of the unusual situations where I thought was interesting was being picked up by a couple that were friends with Ron and Nancy Reagan. And Ronald Reagan was the governor of California for a while, but later obviously became president for 2 terms.
Yeah.
Well, this is before he became president. And we were riding with this guy and just talking about Ron and Nancy, his friends. And I thought for a while we were going to get to go meet him, but as it turned out, we got let out and it didn't come to pass. But I thought that was kind of interesting because
Wow,
Reagan
that
ended up
is
becoming
interesting.
president.
Yeah.
You said that you had a diary or a journal that you kept of your
Yes.
travels.
Yes. My plan is this diary that I kept of this one particular trip was August of 1976. And it's all written in cursive, which is a lost art. I
It
mean, so
is.
my challenge is now I want to transcribe this thing because I can just talk on my phone and do it. And that's going to happen, hopefully, in my lifetime. But it was interesting, just all around this trip for a solid month traveling, chronicling these things, a lot of them that I just mentioned to you. All in all, one of the greatest takeaways I had from this whole experience of traveling was that number one, most people are good. And here you have the most random, arbitrary situation you could have, a sticking your thumb out, all around the United States, literally hundreds of rides, hundreds. And come away with the feeling that almost everybody I encountered was good. They would take me to their house. They would feed me. They would go out of their way to, help me out
You mentioned you did most of your travel with your friend, but how much of it did you do alone?
alone. I did a lot. I mean, I had a situation once where we went to Fort Lauderdale for spring break in, March. I'm from mountains of North Carolina in college and had to get back. And I'm a big college basketball fan. And the next day, Duke was playing Notre Dame, like in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA March Madness. And my buddies and all were wanting to travel that day. So I literally left a day early from, Fort Lauderdale, hitchhiked all the way to North Carolina, just to get back in time to see that game. And I did.
Yeah.
But that trip in particular is like much of the ride I got was with a girl that another college kid, and she had seen me in Fort Lauderdale on the beach, and so when I'm out there hitchhiking, she actually recognized me and gave me a ride, and we were together for 12, 14 hours, and became very close, and
Hmm.
we've connected, and it's almost like I fell in love with her during that
Yeah,
ride.
that
Yeah.
makes sense.
And the sad thing is that, back then, all you could do is maybe get somebody's mailing address.
Yeah.
You didn't have a cell phone. There was no anything like that. And I got her address and then lost it.
Yep.
And I was like, no, I was heartbroken. Um,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A good story, though, in
Yeah.
retrospect.
Which is it? It kind of leads into one of the other questions I was going to ask. Obviously, you didn't keep track of the people that, but did you instantly like, I like this person, they're cool,
Oh,
and
like you kind of like you have the
yeah,
same vibe, you connect with
yeah,
that person.
kind of
Yeah.
connected.
Usually you would, right away. And so many people that would pick up a hitchhiker, they did so because they wanted somebody to talk to.
Hmm.
And so if I was with Matt, we would be one of us would ride in the front and do the talking, where the other would just kind of chill in the back and try to get some rest.
Mhm.
Then the next ride, I'd be up front and I'd do the talking and he would rest.
So smart, because it takes a lot of effort to be on like that and connect with people. But it's kind of interesting because Gibby and I have this podcast where we bring on people and we listen to their stories, and you did that with your hitchhiking.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
probably heard some interesting tales.
I heard all kinds of things. I remember being picked up by a fella that drove me from mid Tennessee all the way to El Paso, Texas. I mean, literally drove all night and
That's
all
a
the next day.
long ride right there.
I remember his name was Jim, and basically Matt and I did all the driving. He sat there, and this guy sat and smoked cigarettes and drank Budweiser beers all night long and
Wow.
all the next day. And he would sip on a beer. About the time he was done, we'd pull over. He'd go to the bathrooms,
Yeah.
go back to the cooler, get another couple of beers, come up, and we'd go do it again. And so,
Was that common that people would let you drive?
all the time.
Really?
Really?
Yes.
I do find that one interesting. I would not have thought that.
Yeah.
I bet you would have liked to have drove the truck where the two drunk buddies had busted, crashed,
Yeah, that
took a
was
crash.
Ben, you talked about earlier, you said that you have to smile, and that from a sales point of view, like that is what disarms people and makes them feel like they can trust
Yes.
you. But obviously there has to be more about you that makes people look at you and think that is a trustworthy person. I'll give him and his friend a ride, and I'm even fine if they drive my car. Like not everybody has that sort of look about them. So what is it
Well,
about you? That's pretty fascinating.
Well, I made a point of trying to look like a college kid, and
Yeah.
I didn't have really long hair or beard or anything. And I'd have a backpack and a sign, like where I'm going, what city.
Hmm.
And that tended to work. People give us a shot. And if I was hitchhiking alone, it would be mostly women would pick me up.
Yeah.
And
makes
every
sense.
one of them would say they'd never picked up a hitchhiker before.
So your sign say something along the lines of college kid trying to get to, I don't know, San
Yes,
Francisco. Yep, that's
exactly.
it.
And then of course people get in, then you start telling your story. And if you're just out traveling to travel, I mean, a lot of times they would be just intrigued by that whole thing.
Yeah.
And again, take you out of their way.
Have you ever thought about how many people went home that night and gathered around the table at dinner and they're like, I met the most interesting people today and gave them a ride? Like that probably happened, as you said, hundreds of times.
Yeah. Now here's a good story. Leaving New Orleans and we're going back to college. So Interstate 10 over to Mobile, Alabama, and then head north to Atlanta. But we're out there, we get a ride by a van. It's like, yeah. And we get in there and we're driving along and, and this is back in, again, the mid 70s. And the guy is driving, he's up front and his wife was driving and he pulls out a joint and he's going to smoke a joint. He says, oh boy, I don't mean to be rude here, boys, have one. So he throws a joint back to us. And we're like, okay. So we wanted to be, accommodating. So we took a few puffs off this joint and then soon pulled over and stopped, went into a 7-Eleven, gave us each $10, which is like $100 today.
Yeah.
And of course we got the munchies. I'll have one of these and two of those. And then we get back out in the van and now I'm riding up front, we're all buddies and friends. And, and I asked the guy, I said, so, what is it you do for a job? And he says, oh, didn't I say, And he pulls out his badge. He says, I'm a cop. Yes. It's like, okay. It's like, because back in those days, marijuana was like heroin, scheduled.
Yeah.
And it was illegal. You go to jail.
Yeah.
And so to have him say, oh, yeah, I'm a cop. And then we ended up going with them to his wife's family's home in Mobile. Went in there. We're all sitting down at dinner, late afternoon Sunday dinner with all the family, probably 14 people at this table and us. And we're like, oh, pass the mashed potatoes and the gravy, and had a great meal. His wife drove us back out to the interstate, gave us each $10 more, and said, have a nice life. And
That's
let us out.
cool.
We were on our way.
That is quite a story. That's like the type of story where you have no idea where it's going, where it could go.
Yeah. So Ben, you mentioned a couple times, the one thing you wanted to make sure is you looked like a college student.
Yes.
And so grooming standards, but also, the smell and how did you take care of yourself? Just bathrooms or?
Yes, bathrooms, but also truck stops.
Oh,
You'd have to stash your pack because, you'd go in there. They don't want some hitchhiker coming in taking a shower.
right.
But if you stash your pack and just acted like you were a part of the trucking community, I don't think it's that easy anymore. Well, you go in there and take a shower and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. Yeah.
Now you did say you didn't get picked up by a lot of truckers. It was mostly just vehicles.
Cars, yes.
Yeah.
We did get picked up by some truckers. And in fact, one time we got a trucker that we were going to meet our friends. We had like three groups of us, groups of two each. And the deal was leaving Boone, North Carolina on Wednesday afternoon. The deal was we're going to meet at the New York Public Library at the corner of 5th Avenue and 42nd Street, Friday at noon. Be there.
That's a fun
We
challenge.
did. We all met there at that time.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah.
And one of the rides that we got was by a long haul trucker who picked us up and literally drove us all the way into Manhattan. But he wasn't happy then because he did this because he was hoping we were going to help him unload his truck.
Ah.
And
So
so he had these two guys, and we got to the end, but like, dude, we've got to meet someone at 12. Sorry, appreciate the ride. Bye.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
man.
I would have thought the truckers would have been the easiest ones to get picked up by, but they weren't. I
No.
guess maybe because of insurance purposes or
Yes. Yeah. They
Yeah.
couldn't have somebody else in the cab and, something went wrong. They would be really not
liable.
good.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But our big thing that would guide us when we're hitchhiking out there is the coin. We had a coin. I think it was a silver dollar. We would ask the coin questions, and the questions had to be framed in a yes or a no, like heads yes, tails no.
Yes.
Will we get a ride in the next 15 to 30-minute segment? Heads yes, tails no. No.
Fate of the coin.
And the coin was right almost all the time.
Wow.
Nice.
It
That's
was
weird.
It was unbelievable. And what's even more unbelievable is we lost it.
Oh. That
And
coin
I
is out
don't know
there
how it's
somewhere.
possible, but we actually had the oracle, in our hands. I could have asked like stock prices and go,
You lost
Wow.
the coin. I bet there was some finger pointing going on right there.
Did you and Matt stay lifelong friends?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He lives in Georgia now, also a sales guy, and we're still great buds. Yeah. I told him I was going to be doing this, and I wanted to hear back from him, like, help me remember some of the stuff. I know I've forgotten half of it.
Maybe you'll hook us up with him. He'll do the other half of your pod.
That would be fun. Here's
It
all
would
the
be.
things Ben forgot to say. But
Really.
you talked about, one of the key takeaways being that people, generally speaking, no matter where you are, they
Yes.
are good people.
Yes.
Is that what you would say was one of your most rewarding aspect of travels, or is there something else that comes to mind?
Yes, I would say that could be the most rewarding part of the whole thing, because again, it's such a random sampling to jump out there with your thumb out, and one out of 100 cars might pull over, and to have that cross section of people measured across the United States in the most random sampling way you could, and to come away with the experiences that I had, and the vast majority of the folks I encountered were really good folks. I think that's very encouraging, because it's easy to get caught up into, all the bad folks out there, and there's plenty of them,
Yeah.
but most people are really good and they will help you and they're kind. And to me, that's one of the most rewarding things that I learned. And of course, it's been 50 years since I did this. And I don't know what it's like today, but I got a feeling it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Well, we would like to think so. Yeah.
Yes.
When did you hang up your hitchhiking hat and you were like, I'm done with this?
Done. I don't think there was ever a time where it was like, I'm done. But I think, I started getting older. Next thing you know, I'm 21 and I've got a car. And it just kind of faded into the past. And again, jumping freight trains was a novel experience, but it was rough and dirty and, it was just not the way to go. But we did it and we crossed that off the list. I think I just kind of got older, more mature, and the idea of sleeping under a bridge became less appealing. And, a hotel is nice. A bed is nice.
I
So
totally
here's
know what
the
you
big
mean.
question, Ben. Did you pay it forward? Did you have you picked up hitchhikers?
That's one of the things. Interesting you bring that up because oftentimes in the conversation that I would have with people at the end where I'm getting ready to get out, it would be something like, well, pass it on.
Oh.
And, and I'll be like, I will. I have picked up hitchhikers, mainly in Alaska, but people that look legitimate, and they were.
Yeah.
But you just don't see hitchhikers anymore.
Not a
If
lot.
I saw one, I might pick them up.
That makes sense.
Here's something. And we have all kinds of hitchhikers all the time listening to our podcast. But when I do see them, they are at the worst place for you to stop and try to help pick them up. So where
Yes.
is the best place?
No, that's it. Positioning it would be a big deal to us because you didn't want to get let off in a city. You want to get let off either before the city or after the city.
Right.
Because if you're in the city and it's it can be almost impossible to get a ride.
Yeah.
So yeah, that planning would be important. If you're on an interstate, you want to be able to get out as much close to the road as people on the highway can see you without the cops coming and rousting you about and getting you off.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was an art. That was a lot of it was where to get, the positioning of hitchhikers. Sometimes we'd have to walk a mile or two just to change where we were and get a place where somebody had room to be able to pull over if they wanted to stop.
Yeah.
If you're in a congested area and somebody, they couldn't pull over, they're not going to pull over if there's nowhere to stop.
No.
So that was a big part of the skill of hitchhiking was
Yeah.
position.
Yeah. Wow. And being able to learn from what's not working and what did work and kind of coming up with your own systems like
Exactly.
people have to do with many things. Ben, I want to hear about what are some of the ways in your life that you feel like you have passed it forward? How have you passed forward kindness throughout your life?
I think one of the ways I've done it frequently through the years, I own a fitness club, Mountain Side Sports and Fitness in North Bend. And I have people that I've meet that have financial problems. They can't be a member of the gym. And it's like, you know what? This one's on me. And because you need to be in here and you need to be doing this. And so that's one way I have the means to be able to help people out. I'm also on I was on the board of directors at the Snoqualmie Valley Chamber of Commerce for a while. I'm still a member. There would be ways we would do food drives and, finding ways to help people out that were less advantaged. And I find it greatly rewarding. A rare situation that we encountered, and I think this was riding in Montana as well, but I got picked up by a couple. And they're like, well, you just kind of go through the same thing. Yeah, we're college kids and went to Appalachian State. We're doing this and blah, blah. And they're like, well, our nephew goes to Appalachian State. And as it turns out, my buddy Frank has since passed away, but it was his uncle and aunt, a friend of ours from our dorm floor that in Montana picked us up hitchhiking. So you wonder, what are the odds of actually having somebody you like that connection that far away?
The small world.
Especially back then. That's amazing.
Yes.
Ben, I knew our time was going to go by so fast, but I just want to say from a purely listening standpoint, This has been so much fun just sitting here with the imagery of all of the stories that you have shared, bouncing around across the country and just picturing the different scenes on the trains or sleeping in a ditch.
Yeah.
It's been so much fun. And we want to express our gratitude for you coming on and sharing some of your amazing stories. I also love your takeaway about how people are good and people want to connect and people want to help and be kind. And I think that is something that you had the fortune of carrying with you throughout your life from young adulthood through now. Thank you for passing that on to us and to our pod and our listeners. Again, we really appreciate all of that.
Well, you're certainly welcome. And I have to say that I think I get a lot of it from my dad, who was born in North Carolina and just a very gregarious type of a personality and friends with lots of people. And he was a role model for me. And, and I've had lots of other ones as well, from football coaches, to just friends. And I've been very blessed, and I'm happy to try to share that with other folks.
Ben, how long has it been since you've been to North Carolina?
It's been about a year since I was there. Both my parents have now passed away.
Okay.
My sister still lives back there, and lots of other relatives. The family farm is near Pittsburgh, and I just love going back. I
Can I
Yeah,
miss it
say
all.
this?
But,
And it's not an insult, but you never lost your accent. I hear it in
well, I
there.
consider that a compliment.
I would too.
yeah,
We lived in North
yeah.
Carolina for a period of time. Beautiful, beautiful state, beautiful country.
It is, and I think if you're born with a Southern accent, you know what, you're gonna keep it.
Yeah, you didn't lose it for
That's
sure.
good. You know what, Ben? We have had so much fun. We would love to have you back on sometime if you
Sure.
want to share another set of stories. Can't wait to push this out to our listeners. Thanks again for your time today.
I want to thank you both for giving me the chance to chronicle this stuff. And, I go to parties and I'll get a few beers in me, and next thing you know, I'm telling hitchhiking stories. And I think my friends are probably all sick of it. So this gives me a way to get it out there, and I can direct folks to your site now.
That's good. I love it. Now,
Yeah.
instead of talking about it, you can just say, listen to my episode.
Exactly. This is going to be too much fun. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. We'll chat soon.
Okay, hold on. So
Bye,
I'll
Ben.
see you in the gym, Lex.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
I'll be in touch.
Okay. See ya.
Okay, bye. Good luck.
Wow. That that was an amazing story. And we only had really one topic the whole time.
I know. I loved that. Didn't
Yeah.
you?
It was really fun. He had quite an adventure during
Hmm.
his youth that obviously is carried with him for his entire life.
Yeah. I mean, talk about setting the tone for your values and your priorities, your life lessons and perspectives in adulthood. Most of us have set experiences like that, whether it's during college or in the military or starting your career. And then we have these experiences that carry us through our life and set the tone. And his involve thousands and thousands of miles hitchhiking and jumping freight trains. I mean, that
Uh,
is pretty fascinating.
you know, uh, a lot of little things that in my mind of, hey, if you were doing this, I thought the freight trains was like, first of all, sketchy because you got to get on there without. He was getting help. He picked track number 4.
Yeah.
That'll get you where you want. I think that was brilliant. The thing is it's dirty and dusty, and
Yeah.
and so hitchhiking was the way to go. And obviously you're gonna meet more interesting people
Cool
that way.
people. Yeah.
Yeah,
And have air
conversations,
conditioning. That's pretty nice too.
air conditioning would probably been a huge plus. Yeah.
Yeah, he had some awesome stories to tell. One thing that I wanted to select as a highlight during our closing is the silver dollar flipping the coin. That reminded me of, do you remember in Batman? Is it Batman Returns?
Yeah.
When
Yeah. I
he
know what
has
you're
the
talking about.
coin and it's a coin with the same side, and basically
Yeah.
it was like you make
It's
your own luck.
100%. You know what the outcome is with that coin.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about like the questions that you're asking the coin. I don't know. It just gives you a lot to think about. Or you remember that scene in Titanic when they're sitting around the fancy dinner table and they're like, a real man makes his own luck, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Maybe you do. Maybe you make your own luck. And I feel like that is kind of the whole story that Ben told. He made his own luck. He went through things with extraordinary confidence, with his disarming smile and his college student look. But then also, when he needs to be, he is waltzing into a truck stop as a trucker. Like he has the confidence that he needs to work through a situation, making
Yep.
his own luck happen.
No, it was what a wonderful story. Like you said, though, a lot of luck. I like his takeaway though. At the end, most of the people are just good people, and
Mhm.
I hope we all can remember that.
Couple of shout outs. I wanted to give a shout out to his kids. I want to give a shout out to his girlfriend, and of course, a shout out to his dogs and all of the patrons at the gym. And of course, yes, shout out to Matt
Yeah,
and all of his friends that he traveled with back in the day. What an amazing life.
I think that may be another Porch Swing People.
Porch Swing people out.
Porch Swing People is recorded and produced by Lex and Gibby. Opening music was written and produced by Michael Gibson. Porch Swing People is a podcast featuring everyday people. If interested in being a guest, email us at porchswingpeeps@gmail.com.